Hello and welcome to Taco Tuesday with your host Matt and my co-host
The very sick,
UFO.
a very sick UFO, like a very sick
very
alien.
sick UFO.
Yeah, it's a disease you guys wouldn't know about. But anyways, continue. Sorry.
So we're a couple days removed, a day maybe two, depends on the timeline of this, from the Eagles' first ever Super Bowl win. What's your thoughts on the Super Bowl itself?
Well, I came into it completely unbiased, as you know. I'm kidding. No, I was rooting for the Eagles like most of America. And I think a lot of people have been saying that that's like supposed to be a hard thing to do because of their fans. Never really seen how bad their fans are. I just think that they're kind of like pretty wild, I guess. But yeah.
The Eagles fans or Patriots fans? Sorry.
Oh, Eagles fans. I mean, I don't think that they're. Maybe they are pretty bad. I don't know.
From time to time, I've heard that they're.
They're burning their city right now, which is
Currently, Philadelphia is under.
You think Trump just got elected again or something? Like it's nuts down there.
Yeah. So, who did you think going into the game? What was your thoughts? We were gonna do a show before the Super Bowl, but right. Because of certain events, you had to go to Mars and different things like that.
Yes, business trip, caught this cold. Martians have some germs that, are very...
Yeah, it's kind of like smallpox.
You just don't see it coming.
So before this, what was your prediction?
I think like most people...
Your thoughts...
Yeah.
Let me give you a couple.
Sure.
Who did you think was going to win,
right.
And why did you think that?
I thought the Pats were going to win if, I guess, if the refs called a pretty neutral game, then I could see the Eagles winning. Like I really tilted in that direction, but I said it really depends on a lot of things because I'm still kind of basing it off of that narrative type thing where where are they going to write about their new Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, and even when he got down to the fourth quarter drive, I was like, oh, see, people aren't going to be able to say it's Vinatieri. People aren't going to be able to say it was the defense or something. He's going to get that Elway-like drive, and then it'll just be adding to the but I mean, he really made some mistakes in this game. Not to now people are going to jump all over me, but
I agree. Let me
key mistakes.
Let me jump in for a second. At one point they were saying, I can't remember who said it, but it was one of the announcers. They were saying that this is an incredible performance by Brady, and they had what was it? They said it was like because he had thrown for so many yards and the run game was pretty much non-existent because the Eagles' defense is really good in that area,
right?
And because of kind of the Patriots' defense kind of slacking in some areas, aka them benching Malcolm Butler, which thank you, Bill Belichick.
Great job.
But ultimately, with all of that being said, this was kind of a statement. If you are going to write a narrative against Tom Brady, this is the game. This is it.
Interesting.
Because you're looking at it. If when you say that, I think of Gostowski wasn't an ace like he always is. Which going into the game, I was like, he's gonna be one of the reasons they lose. But they.
Excuse me.
But with all of that being said, Tom Brady had to win the game. And did Tom Brady win the game?
No.
He threw for over 500 yards.
Which, I mean, when you read that stat sheet, you're like, wow.
Yeah, he threw for 500 yards. He threw for at least 3 touchdowns. He had no interceptions. He had that fumble, but that ultimately cost the game. But he had to win the game, and he didn't win it. And that's kind of, if you're going to write a negative narrative on Tom Brady, because when you look at his past Super Bowls, you have Vinatieri, you have even Gostowski, you have the defense of the Patriots winning Super Bowls. In this one, you don't have that. You have Tom Brady putting up massive numbers with no run game, or even the run game for Patriots has been amazing, like it was last year's Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think one thing that's really interesting is if you start poking holes in it, it's a very it's a fascinating thing when you're looking outside of like the popular media with the narrative and Patriot fans who are not objective in any way. Now, granted, neither am I, but I'll at least admit it. You know what I mean? But what I will say this. I think when you look at some of the yards after the catch that he got from his receivers and everything, and I saw this on Twitter and I was like, this is a really good point. Nobody gives Tom Brady's receivers any credit for the separation they get. I mean, this dude is throwing the majority of his passes are to wide open receivers. Now you could say, well, that's against, the defense should try to stop them. Well, when the defense does stop him, bad things happen. When the defense does cover the receivers well, he's more so. This is the GOAT, mind you, throwing it in the air for 50-50 balls to Gronk, or he's hoping for a pass interference call.
Usually, but that is what Aaron Rodgers does. That's what Peyton Manning has done. So,
but I don't think Aaron Rodgers, mind you, would have had that sack possibly. I think there's a good chance of him avoiding that because Brady is a statue, right? He's not the most ideal quarterback.
I'm talking about relying on receivers, 50-50 balls, different things like that. But this is
the GOAT. You get what I'm saying?
I agree with you. I'm just being devil's advocate for this.
Absolutely, and I mean many people would. They would, and I think the narrative coming out of this won't be Brady, because those who say 500 yards and everything. Yeah, it's a shootout. Nick Foles was throwing for a lot, over 200 or so. Pretty dang good,
so Nick Foles threw for, I believe, almost 400 yards.
You go ahead and Google that while I kind of go on a rant here, so I'll cover you. But I think that when you break it down, there's a lot of yards after the catch. There's a lot of throwing to open receivers and everything else. None of these. I mean, there's a few throws that like a Fitzpatrick can make every now and then where you're like, oh wow, that was pretty good. Now Brady is still can be clutch. He's the perfect plug-in guy to that system.
I got stats for you if you
go ahead.
You're ready.
All right, I'm pretty much done.
So Nick Foles. Let me bring up box scores instead. Nick Foles threw for 373 yards.
Okay.
3 touchdowns, 1 interception, which we could argue that interception shouldn't be an interception.
Sure.
It was a tip ball. It wasn't his
fault. I was going to say Brady's defense kind of helped him out there.
Yeah. So it wasn't his fault, but also Nick Foles caught a pass for a touchdown.
Right.
So, but Tom Brady, their passes thrown and completions are actually almost identical. The only difference is Tom Brady threw for 505 yards and 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, but he did have that fumble. Another actually kind of fascinating stat, Nick Foles wasn't sacked at all in the game, whereas Tom Brady got that 1 sack.
Right. Which isn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't like the Giants
crazy,
games.
Flashy stat, but it shows pressure on Tom Brady.
There was a bit, like there wasn't an immense amount, but that's the thing though. Somebody said this in the game, but they were commenting saying how you pressure Brady, he becomes an average quarterback. And I think that's true. And that's when you see him, instead of rising above, a lot of times he goes for the calls. He looked. You look at the Patriots are conditioned to try to get every call. That's not dominance.
I would say that I would agree.
Right.
The other team that does that is the Green Bay Packers.
Oh,
If someone jumps off sides, which is Aaron Rodgers' bread and butter.
Yep.
He'll throw it to Jordy Nelson.
Peyton was, that guy too. In some ways,
but Peyton
trickery.
was more draw you off sides, and then they just get the free 5 yards.
Right.
It was very rare that the play would play on.
Well, the thing about
I agree.
I was gonna say the thing about Peyton though. When I watched him, I said, "This guy is so good." You know what I mean? Like especially, like I think it was the 2013 or 2014 Broncos. No, it was the 2014 team. No, not in that Super Bowl. Excuse me, mind you, but that was dominance. I mean, I did. 07 Brady had very good weapons. Everybody says, "Oh, they did." Randy Moss is better than Demaryius Thomas. In that
but
point.
There's one Randy Moss, and
there's also Gronk. Welker. No, he didn't have Gronk. You know what I mean at that time. But throughout his career, he's had good weapons. And I credit that to Belichick. Now, again, people will freak out because Pat fans have been conditioned to argue in ways of, you're just jealous, and it's not an argument. It's them restating why they're with the team in the first place. They win, and you don't like that, and I do. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's what I'd expect a bandwagoner to say. But in the amount of respect, the guy did play a good, he was in there. You know what I mean? He kept punching back. But when it came down to that drive that I was looking at, I was like, here's his drive. If he wasn't throwing to somebody wide open, I just didn't see catches that just jumped off the page. Now, granted, if you see a wide open guy, take it. But do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, Nick Foles was making better throws than Brady in this game, and catches. I mean, that was a big.
When it came down to it, it was the drive that that Tom Brady fumbled. I'm thinking in my mind, this is it. You left too much time on the clock.
Yeah.
And it's either Tom Brady's going to go down and win this thing, or that's pretty much the only option at this moment. Right. And then they sacked him and caused the fumble, and I went, "Oh my goodness!" They've just won the game. Like, they have to run out some more clock and then kick a field goal.
Sure, strategy.
Ultimately, they have to make the field goal to win it. But at that moment, I went, they won the game. Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying.
I'll say this. I think when I looked at I know you watch this as well from space, but when the Patriots play the Jaguars,
yes,
the Jaguars, and even when the Jaguars played the Steelers, they went up in the game really early. They had a lot of momentum. They took the lead. They came out and was like, hey, we're here, and you're kind of screwed at this moment. And so that all happens, and then I'm looking at the third quarter, and suddenly the Jaguars disappeared.
Yeah.
And the Patriots caught up, and the Steelers caught up, and by the fourth quarter,
those
it was
adjustments.
A close game.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And when I look at this game, when I was watching this game, they were up, 15-13, and then that amazing 4th and goal from the one pass to Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Happens,
that was cool.
And I went, that's the spark.
Yeah.
Right there. That's the spark.
Yep.
They kept it close the entire game to kind of in a way make them feel like they're living.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, to make them feel like they're living enough that we need to keep fighting. That we need, that they're not out of the rear view mirror.
They never took their feet off the gas, like Atlanta did last year, and that's why they choked.
They couldn't take their feet off the gas because the Patriots, they always kept them within that 10-point range. They never let them go more behind them than 10 points, which sounds stupid, but they always wanted them to kind of feel like, hey, they're living enough, and we need to keep fighting. and that fourth down play, going into halftime, coming out, you have this momentum.
Yeah.
And they did let the Patriots kind of come back, normal Patriot style.
Yeah.
But there was that momentum kind of carried them throughout this game.
Yeah.
And
they came to play.
Time.
They came to play. They wanted it more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there was a difference. I saw a difference in the style of play compared to, let's say, I'm using Jacksonville. I'm putting them down, but because they played so good in the first half against
and
both
then
the Steelers and the Patriots.
Then they started playing not to lose.
But then they just fell apart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And I think this is what I mean by, like, when the referees, like, I mean, you know, calls didn't go their way, and I find it hysterical that the fans are, like, complaining about that, because those kinds of calls get called, like for their team constantly. Like, you know, they benefit from stuff all the time. And it's ironic because their fan base does exactly what they, you know, the exact complaining, the exact crying that they claim that every other fan base in the league that's jealous, quote unquote, of them does. And I think the reason people are so mad is because the Patriots are the cocky, you know, arrogant, you know, team that just wants to win at any cost, even if that means, you know, trying to get away with some shady stuff. And people, and, you know, Brady walking in with that stupid coat and everything, it just looked like a, you know, that meme that say you look like a single mother that just won a lawsuit, you know, to get, you know, a divorce. It's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just, it's that kind of stuff that, you know, every time something doesn't go their way, they look right to the refs, which, yes, most teams do, but you're dominant. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so eye-rolling to see that fan base complain about rules not, you know, refs calling it against them for one. I think they called a pretty decent game. You know what I mean?
Really
like there
was,
and that's
going
how
into the game, they said that this is the officiating crew that's called the least amount of pass interference.
Well, there you go. That's one reason why the Pats lost.
This is amazing because
that's their bread and butter.
I want a game with some hand fighting and some checking. And honestly, that last play, I mean, Chris Hogan got jacked up way past 5 yards. I mean, it was like 30 or 40 yards down the field, and I look at the play, I'm like, that's pass interference. Oh, that's holding, or I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, no, they didn't call it. So
well, I mean, Gronk looked right at a ref one time when he didn't catch a ball. You know what I mean? And he was looking for the flag so they could get in business, and they didn't. You know, they just shook their head. They're like, not this time, buddy. Play the game. Like, it's almost as if he was looking at him like, sorry, bud. This isn't what's... And I think if the narrative story still goes, which I don't know entirely if that's true, I'm still wondering. And I'm not saying if the Patriots win, that's a narrative. I've said it against teams that are, you know, that I don't mind. But what I'm saying is, if the narrative thing is true, they looked at people watching the Super Bowl, and they saw that people were just sick of the Pats. Not that they were winning, but how and why, and, you know, all this stuff. They were just constantly getting, you know, the easy end of the stick. Teams were like, you know, we had a chance against them, but because of a call, not because of Brady's dominance or anything like that, because of the call. Tom Brady's making a dang, you know, documentary before the Super Bowl. Now, granted, he could have done that before, but it's like, dude, you know, Mr. Determined, I mean, this is the kind of stuff he'll do every now and then, but, you know, he's supposed to, and he didn't shake Nick Foles' hand after he doesn't do that in any of the Super Bowls he loses. He's obsessive, and it's beautiful to see him lose. You know, it's the schoolyard bully, and people only like him because they want to be on the winning team, and whenever they're at a Super Bowl party, they want to say, my team's in it. I mean, I think that's the majority of Patriot fans, but moving them. I'm sorry, I'm just saying.
Let me kind of segue to that.
Okay.
Tom Brady. I've been saying this for a while. I think that was Tom Brady's last game.
Oh, well, I don't think so.
You think he's coming back?
Sure.
Do you think what do you think's going to happen this offseason for the Patriots?
Well, it depends. I theorized I have theorized before, because I think they feed off of the whole everybody says they're done, but we're not done. But they will have to be eventually. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, the guy's going to be 41, and Patriot fans would just assume, oh, he's going to play till he's 60. No, that's not happening. It's just go watch soccer. You know, like it's a much more contact sport than the Patriots. But I just but like it's.
Not specifically Tom Brady, but the organization, what's going to happen this offseason.
I think you could see Belichick walk away. I think that's the likeliest thing. I think there's evidence of that. You know, everybody says that the reports are, you know, whatever. I mean, the dang commissioner came out and said, hey, you know, he didn't say that there wasn't dysfunction. He said something like, I'm trying to look up the exact, what did he say? It wasn't like, oh, there's... dysfunction is good, and you know it's competitive, you know, all that stuff. I think that there's some egos in that room, and to pretend that there isn't, you know what I mean? Like, So to pretend that there aren't some egos in that room, that people aren't gonna want to start, you know, trying to see who gets credit for what. Because let's be honest, you put Tom Brady on the Browns, guy's not winning anything. You know, he might get in the playoffs, he might, but no. Yeah. So if he's still on the Patriots, Belichick walks away, good chance of that maybe after this year. Maybe like they go after one more.
Sorry, keep going.
No, you're fine. I say 2 years tops at this point. They might get one more, because if the NFL is a narrative, Tom Brady will go out on top, because they love the storybook ending.
That's something that I was wondering. I was like, okay, so if Tom Brady, if he retires and he goes out on top, they win 6 Super Bowls. So okay, but I don't see that happening. I see this offseason, my opinion, if Tom Brady retires, Gronkowski retires.
Sure.
Gronk will be done. He'll say, I'm done.
Yeah.
If Gronk comes back and says on his own, I'm retiring, I think that Tom Brady pretty quickly says, okay. And then, but ultimately I think this was Bill Belichick's last game. Because I think Robert Kraft specifically has been kind of pushing his nose into Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And has been kind of like, dude, what are you doing? We need, you trade
away the true goat.
Yeah. Trade away Jimmy Garoppolo, because, you know, he wants to be the quarterback. We made a commitment to Tom. And Bill's like, fine. Screw you. I'm going to give him away, pretty much. Gives him away to the 49ers, and here we are. The 49ers have Jimmy Garoppolo now.
Yep.
Bill Belichick, the Patriots have no future. They're betting everything on their 41-year-old quarterback.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. And Bill Belichick's smiling. Bill Belichick did an interview with ESPN. He did a 30 for 30.
Yep.
I mean, Bill Belichick does not do that.
Right. Yeah.
Tom Brady does not let people into his home. Like, for 18 years, Tom Brady has been Tom Brady, silent, just like Peyton.
Yeah.
Silent. Actually more silent than Peyton, because Peyton did commercials. But if I'm looking at this organization, I'm saying Robert Kraft sticks his nose in. Bill Belichick says, fine, I quit.
Yeah.
I'm retiring.
Yeah.
He retires. Tom Brady stays one more year. They have a terrible season.
Beautiful.
Because Tom Brady is without Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, and a couple other coaches on that coaching staff. And now Tom goes, crap. What did I just do?
Yeah.
Gronk is still there because it's Gronk. He's got head injuries. He's gonna stay around. But even let's say that Gronk retires. Who's on that team? Brandon Cooks.
He's all right.
I mean, you got Brandon Cooks, Edelman, Amendola, and Hogan. Like, you have
an average receiving core at that point.
You have okay tight end. Not Delaney Walker. What's his name? I think Allen.
The guy from Buffalo, right?
No. Colts. He was the backup to.
That's right.
What's his name last year? And so it's like, okay, he's okay, but not. He's not Gronk.
That's a big thing too, because
so I look at that and I'm like, what kind of offense is that? Like, literally for like 20 years, we've seen Bill Belichick's offense, which is like, all right, these guys go in a system. Now these guys are in a system and they're there, and they're subpar, but there's no system to put them in. So now you have
irreplaceable
players that were elevated because of Tom Brady and a system,
right?
And here we are. So I just don't see. I truly don't see Bill Belichick returning. And
you got that whole what was it? You got the fact that Bill Belichick does not like it when head owners, he doesn't like it when they intervene. He wants everything to be his way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, people say it's Brady over Belichick. The guy's the GM, the coach. It's just, it's like
the owner. We don't know.
He could be the owner at this point.
Kraft
we don't know.
Could be just a robot.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, leave us your comments below on this subject.
Yeah, call us haters. That's a good argument.
Yeah, haters.
Because that'll definitely. I guess, yeah. I could care less about a millionaire. I just enjoy the game, but yeah. I mean,
well,
all right.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast and this Taco Tuesday, and join us again next week.
All right, we'll see you then.